Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the True Life Podcast. I hope you're having a beautiful day. Hope the sun is shining. I hope the birds are singing. I hope you realize that there is a path you can walk down where things may not be the best, but there's signs on the road to tell you what to do. I got a great show for you today. The one and only Lonnie Rey, author of the Rattled Awake anthology, #1 international bestseller. She's a storyteller, content developer, project consultant, freelance writer, podcast host, lover of life's mysteries. Lonnie Rey, how's it going today?
It's so good. I'm here with you. It's a dream come true. Somebody pinch me.
You're just saying that because it's true, right?
Yes, it do. Yes, indeed. You do resemble that remark.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. What an amazing time we live in right now. There's so much going on. And, I got to think with everything that's happened in the world right now, that it's inspired this new series, Rattled Awake, you're on. But before we even get to Rattled Awake, maybe we could start off with like where the author series began, because you've written several books before. Maybe a little bit of an origin story about how you became a writer, how you became interested in writing down things for other people, becoming a storyteller.
Okay. So thanks, George. When I was in school, they threw a sock on the middle of the table and asked us to write a story about the sock. And so or maybe it was a sneaker. Doesn't matter. Sneaker. We'll call it a sneaker. And I called the sneaker Anthony, and his sister Maria was missing. Because one of them always ends up missing out of the laundry, right? And I got all this applause for being creative, and that launched, the little writer in me. I for years I made cards, and I would write on the back. I would imitate Hallmark, and I go, oh, it's a Hallmark moment. Whatever I could do to just duplicate, that's what I thought maybe my future would be, was writing cards. And then the day came after a very traumatic childhood and an awful lot of processing that I thought that I was, pretty much had peeled all the onion layers off. Yeah. And I was making a Mother's Day card. I was trying. And I wrote on the front with best of intentions, George. I said, you're laughing. I did. I said, on Mother's Day, I just want to thank you for all the wonderful things you've taught me. And then I sat there dumbfounded, and I'm like, I don't have an effing thing to tell you. I have nothing. I got nothing good. And I'm just like, oh, well, this is what I hate. People are like, oh, I'm sure she did her best. I'm like, you weren't there. And know when somebody's doing their best and when they're not. Nobody does their best all the time. Shut up. Stop saying that. In fact, I wrote a book, Life Lessons Learned from a Lousy Mother, and I'm not a mother, okay? And it was initially going to be a blank book, George, and I had it published on Mother's Day, and I wanted to inspire people to write their own Mother's Day card and not mail it. Just write your heart out, because I learned that writing makes it real. It gets it out of your head. It gets it on paper where you can deal with it. And then you can decide what you want to do with it after that, right? Yeah. So I ended up writing this in 5 days. I've had this content in my head for a very long time. It's a 20-minute read. The comments I put on the front are just so relatable, and it is, because not all of us had June Cleaver for a mother. Man, I mean, she was in her 70s and still mocking and mimicking me and making faces and stuff. And she was, for a woman who studied spirituality, she was a medium. She did made a living at it. You'd think that she'd have processed some of this stuff, but she never did. And she just somebody who's got a grudge, and so that was how I ended up writing my first book. And it was really to help people on Mother's Day who feel obligated to do or say something nice, and we don't always feel that way, and we have to honor those feelings too.
Yeah. I've been speaking to a lot of people about the idea of generational trauma, and how the things that happen to our family in the past, we often see it manifest through patterns and things like that. But so much of what we react to is the same things maybe our grandparents reacted to. It's kind of crazy to think about, right?
Well, I'll tell you how real that is. Yeah. You're absolutely right. Is that I was 7 when my twin brothers were born. And I found that I could be at least appreciated a little bit for a minute. I taught myself how to change diapers and, whatever I could do to be mini mom just to win some praise. It was very confusing. My mother revealed that the twins had separate fathers. And I'm just like, wait a second, hang on, Mom. What?
Like what?
What? Yeah, she's a medical miracle. She's in the books. You got to be known for something, I guess, right? Um, but by the time I was 14, I felt like I'd already had kids, and
Hmm.
I said, until such time as I undo all these knots and not be her to a child, not
Yeah.
become my mother, I will not have a child. And I remember the day, it felt like a lightning bolt struck me on the sidewalk of San Diego. And it was like, you will not be your mother. And I was like, great. I don't think I'll have kids either, but thanks, you know? And so it has just been a process of undoing all that stuff so that if nothing else, when I take to the microphone, the frequency that is broadcast makes people smile. It reminds them of who they are because I got there. And I
Yeah.
know you can talk about how grass grows and people can still feel better.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was the seriousness I took to recognizing that we have to undo that stuff so we don't pass it on.
It's hard though, right? Because you like, how do you process that stuff? Like, first for me, it's blaming. Like, the first thing you do is like, it's their fault. God damn it! I can't believe these people did this to me. You know, and like at some point in time, you know, if you don't take the precious time to look at yourself and be like, okay, yes, they fucked it all up. However, I gotta fix it, because if I don't fix it, then I'm gonna keep radiating that pattern out there, and that is the one thing we need to stop. For me, it took a long time to figure out, and I think it does for a lot of people. At some point, you come to this realization, like, okay, I cannot blame them anymore, and I'm just hurting myself. And by blaming them, I'm hurting my own relationships, and I'm continuing to do the same thing they're doing. So for me, it took a whole lot of work and like some therapy and failing at things and coming to this radical realization of self-responsibility. But what was it for you that came to this path of like, okay, I had this lightning bolt hit? Like, what was that lightning bolt that finally made you go, okay, now it's on me. Now I'm going to take this and make people smile all the time.
No, no, no. It was always on me. I started
Right.
studying metaphysics when I was 21,
Okay.
and personal growth and development, spirituality, paranormal, so,
Yeah.
whatever I could get my hands on. I knew I was a mess. I knew it. I knew it.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to be that person. I had to undo it all, and I had to figure out what that was. You
Right.
have to have it to get rid of it. And what
Yes.
I was doing was typical of a kid who's abused is that they defend their abuser.
Mm-hmm.
And a pivotal moment was a therapist who gave this wonderful example to me, who said, you're sitting in a room and a little elephant walks across the room and he accidentally steps on your foot. He doesn't mean to, but it hurts, doesn't it? Yeah, that would hurt.
Yeah.
He said, you got to have that hurt. Whether he meant it or not, you've got to have that hurt. And so what happened from that moment was me finally allowing all those years of pent-up anger and self-loathing and hating myself, because narcissists will do that to
Yeah.
you.
Yep. Yep.
It's your fault that they're
Mm-hmm.
unhappy. It's your fault that you were born. I heard, if it weren't for you goddamn kids, dot, 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 dot. Oh, thanks, mom. I
Yeah.
actually really didn't try
Yeah.
to be here, but you did that.
I didn't
So
ask to be here. Yeah, that's
yeah,
right.
thanks. Yeah, yeah. So, it was a process of peeling off onion layers. What happened though is that he'd be like, "Oh, our 55 minutes are up. Our 50 minutes are up. See you
Mm-hmm.
next time." And he'd
Yep.
send me out onto the street. I'd just be like this bleeding, gaping wound of emotion. And I feel so bad for my housemates at, various times in my life, because I was pissed off for 5 years. I wore,
Yeah.
heavy stomping boots. I wore big clothes so nobody would bother me. I didn't want any attention. And I
Mm-hmm.
listened to Nine Inch Nails everywhere I went. I had the
Nice.
headphones on. I was at the bus stop. I was banging. I was airboxing, because there's so many lyrics in that made me think of my mother. And
Yeah.
you have to get it out. What happens is getting stuck in it and it becomes an identity. And I had an
Yeah.
identity as an angry person. I was like, I don't want to be this. I don't want to be Debbie Downer. I don't want to suck the air out of the room and the life out
Mm-hmm.
of friendships. How the hell do I get out of this? Now that
Mm-hmm.
I've owned it, how the hell do I get rid of it? It's a multi-layered, long-term process, until I found tapping. Back in the day, it was originally called thought field therapy.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of it, George?
I'm not familiar with it.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. It is wow. Um, it is based in Chinese acupressure.
Okay.
Dr. Callahan studied it for 20 years. He was a traditional psychologist
Mm-hmm.
who took a liking to Chinese acupuncture and acupressure. And what he discovered, excuse me, is
Yeah.
that every thought, that's why it was called thought field therapy.
Okay.
If you have a thought, what comes with it is a field in your energy field. And if you have a stress response, like if you think about something and it makes you feel like, on a 10, even an 8, it's too much, tears, whatever, can't handle it. There's a blowout in that. It's called a perturbation. It's where the word perturbed comes from. And this is we have an energy system, a chi, and what happens with these thoughts is this association and then and then a reaction.
Mm-hmm.
And look, talk therapy is valuable. It matters that you get heard. It
Yeah.
does. But it can only go so far. And what I found with thought field therapy was that it works like gravity, whether you believe in it or not, it works anyway. It does. He was able to isolate acupressure points that would eliminate, and our manual was 5 inches. It
Mm-hmm.
was thick. It has
Mhm.
now come down to a 5-minute routine.
Nice.
And it really, really works. Like I said, whether you believe in it or not, it's like Fix-A-Flat for emotional blowouts. It really is. Yeah, it is. In fact, I was in I've had a lot of, what a life. But I was in a women's shelter, and we were all, messed up and traumatized, all of us. But I knew thought field therapy. By then it
Right?
was called EFT, emotional freedom technique. And I taught it to the girls. And this little Asian came up to me a day or two later, and she had bruises on her face. And this was from the tapping, because there's
Mhm.
certain spots you tap over and over again. You think a thought, you tap,
Mhm.
tap, 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 and these activate and close the perturbation. So she comes up, she looks up at me, and I said, why are you bruised? She said, oh, I feel much better. A lot of issues, but feel much better, much better. I was like, oh, everywhere I've gone, George, I tried to help. If I had
Yeah.
something, I'm going to share it. I've always believed in say it forward, which is
Yeah.
really what the Rattled Awake movement is about. It's the anthology is yeah. We want to say it forward.
Yeah, I think that that's the magic recipe in order to make the world better is you try to make everyone around you better, and then that kind of radiates back to you in some ways. I have a question to it. Earlier, just briefly, you said you have it and you try to get rid of it. Is the next for me the next part of that sentence is once I got rid of it, I realized the lessons I learned from having it. Like there's a certain sort of superpower that comes from having it and turning that thing into something positive. That's probably why you want to help people, right? And like that's why you're good at helping people because you've been through that emotion that a lot of people are going through.
It definitely matters because I can
Okay.
see more than they think they're saying. I
Yes, yes. Well said.
Yeah. Yeah, because I've been so many shades of dark and
Sure.
light. I do want to track back on something you
Yeah.
said.
Okay.
And not everybody gets back up.
Mm.
Not everybody recovers. And certainly you see it in siblings. They all take the same,
Yeah.
level of abuse. And in
Yeah.
one family, I know two of them became convicts, and the other one became a poetry therapist who traveled the
Mm.
country helping kids in prison, 10-year-olds who killed their parents. Like she
Mm.
broke the legacy. And
Yeah.
one of the things that really, I know people mean well when they come up with these little trite things,
Yeah.
but, "Oh, it made you who you are." And it's like, "No, you did. You made yourself
Mm.
who you are. That experience fucked you up. That
Yeah.
that experience sent you down an alley, and it was you that found the light and came back." And that was all I said all these years, George, was, "God, if nothing else, because I don't understand all this, if nothing else, please make it make sense. Please
Mhm.
show me the way so that I can come back with a lantern and a
Yeah.
laugh and show people the way out. Because I like taking the zip line to the finish line. You know, how fast can we get where we
Yeah.
want to be? Why do you want to monkey around in the jungle? I'm just saying. Why?
Yeah.
You know? So,
Yeah.
and one of the, we live in reaction so much to
Yep.
what, instead of response, we live in reaction. And, I didn't know at the time, but I was looking at what my mother was, and I had like this list of like sarcastic, mistrusting, um, snarky,
Mhm.
all these things. And I was like, whatever she is, pendulum swing. I'm going to be the opposite.
Right.
And as a result, and plus I was desperate to be loved, like, accepted, anything. God, can somebody just
Yeah.
not have a conditional hoop that's on fire right? Come on. Like,
Yeah.
could it stop being like this ever? Or is this like my destiny and then my karma? And this is just how it's supposed to be.
Mhm.
I just didn't want to accept that. And so as a result of seeing what she was like, I chose to be super gullible and super accepting, and
Mm.
I would let anybody in and say, "Hey, here's my rowboat. Here, grab an oar. Oh, you don't want to row? Okay, I'll row for both of us. Yeah, let's
Mhm.
do this." It doesn't work. I thought it I thought we were all supposed to link arms and come up together. I thought everybody was a good person. I thought that we all were here to do well, do better, help each other. Wow. You know what? When you wear rose-colored glasses, you miss the red flags, and that's
Mhm.
what happened. That's why I wrote the book How to Deal with a Dumbass.
Yeah.
Look at this one. I
There we
love this one.
go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is edutainment at its finest. It's a field guide to the potholes and the people who dig them, but it's also a spiritual right, stop. We have to be able to recognize it. And nowhere in here is the
Yeah.
word toxic. It's not narcissist. It's not in there. These are personality traits. And these traits are things that you need to look at from here, because I'll give you an example.
Okay, please.
Okay. I had a long-term friendship, working relationship with a gal. And I noticed that, and in fact, I said, I'll call her Amy. Amy, how come it is you've been with Frank, whatever, um, 17 years and he's never said, I love you? Doesn't that bother you?
Mhm.
Well, yeah, but I know he does. And I said, Amy, why don't you like stand up and say
Mhm.
something? Well, no, I know he does. And I was like, God, girl, like, you're going to have this whole lifetime of a relationship this way? Well, I know he does. But you would like to hear it. Yeah. Well, say something.
Yeah.
No. Well, later. Right. Well, look, that's fine. Live your life. Do it your way. Here's where it showed up later, George.
Okay.
I was working on a job. I was cleaning apartments. God, University of Tennessee college students are, anyway. I've done a lot of things. As long as it didn't involve blood, I've done it
Mm.
pretty much. Anyway, I digress. Um, we walked into this apartment and it smelled like mold from on the sidewalk. It was bad. It was
Mm.
bad, and it was 90 degrees outside.
Mm.
And I said, I, "We got to air this out." And then I went into the bedroom, and the air conditioner was coated with black mold. Coated.
Mm.
And I'd had a problem in my own apartment with that. I know what that can do.
Yeah.
And I sent her photos and I said, I'm not putting my Dyson on this. That's for sure. I'm not taking this mold home. And I said, even disturbing it is a very big concern. This is a problem. And, oh, come on, just photo after photo. I said, no, it's not okay, Amy. It's not okay. This is dangerous. And she says, well, the maintenance man said it's just dirty. And I said, Amy, we have cleaned enough apartments for you that I know the difference between dirty and mold ridden. This is
Yeah.
dangerous. And she wouldn't come down because COVID had just hit.
Mm.
And she thought that she would, she had to isolate. Right. And I said,
Right.
okay, so leave it up, you say you back your crew. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
it's fine. Never mind. You don't have to do it. Okay. Well, the maintenance man said it's just, I said, I don't care what the maintenance man says.
Right.
Here's what happened. The other part of the crew was upstairs. They came from the third floor down, and in marched a gal who was literally about to give birth. Like, she had her baby the next day. Like, that
Mm.
that much. She worked right till the day she gave birth. She was about to march into that apartment and clean that AC unit. And I stopped her. I practically neck hooked her. And I said, you are not going in there. There's no way that I'm going to let that happen. And I was furious with Amy. I said, how dare you?
Yeah.
How dare you put other people at risk? Well, the maintenance man, This is what weak-willed people will do. So it went from she won't ask her boyfriend of 17 years to say I love you to she won't have the back of her people
Mm-hmm.
to exposing a pregnant gal to dangerous black mold.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't even care. Like,
Yeah.
no. And so weak-willed is probably one of the I mean, it's definitely one of the biggest things we're facing right now, George, is a lot of
Yeah.
people have become weak-willed. They're following the tail in front of them without questioning what's going on, and they need to question if it doesn't feel right, it probably isn't right. If you only have half the truth, what's the other half? Start looking deeper. And that's why I wrote How to Deal with a Dumbass in
I
part.
love it. Yeah, I think it's a bug, or it's not a bug, it's a feature. If you look in the way, like it seems to me, Fortune 500 companies, like they're selecting for weak-willed leaders that will do whatever they're told so that they can be the buffer in between the angry people and the profits. Because you can always get rid of a manager. You can always get rid of a leader. Those people are like the head coach of a football team. Yeah, super important, right? Okay, get out of here. We don't need you anymore. You know, that you need the team and you need the owners, and those two people need a buffer between them so that the players can murder the person in the middle. And the weak-willed leaders are in our governments. They're in the boardrooms. They're everywhere. They don't care. All they care about is people as numbers, and they don't have the courage to stand up for what's right. I couldn't agree anymore.
And they don't. But what we have are the workers that are the numbers that need to stop
Yeah.
agreeing.
Yeah.
Ask why before you
Yeah.
comply. I
I
had
like
that
it.
.com, George.
I love it.
Yeah. I also had a channel on BitChute called Project BS, you know, in response to Project Bluebeam and all their other
Oh,
Project
yeah.
Paperclip and all this other crap they do. Project BS. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I look, we have got to become stand-up guys. And
Have
honestly,
to.
that's what the Dumbass book is about. It's like, where are you
Nice.
accepting? Where did you lower the bar? Where are
Mhm.
you letting people in that do not deserve to take authority over your life
Yeah.
and take it back? Because
Yeah.
what's about to happen again, you know it, lather, rinse, repeat is coming.
Yeah.
And they so what they've done is they've once again, now it's a social credit score that these employers have to the companies have to maintain in order to what, stay alive, stay in business. If they
Yeah.
all stood up, if they actually showed that they have a spine, they would
Mhm.
say, hell no, we won't go. And then their employees wouldn't be forced to get fired or stand
Right.
up and riot or protest at the very least. Has anybody looked at France lately? They're not
Yeah.
happy people for a reason. You know, we've
Yeah.
got to, because this is where they've insidiously instigated more tyranny through work, through
Yeah.
employers. And
Yep.
okay, I get it. An employer wants to stay in business. You have no business telling somebody what they should do with their body.
That's
None.
right.
Just saying.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's the Nuremberg trials for that. People should be in prison for that. Like, there's a lot of people that should be facing a jury of their peers for the crimes that were committed over the last, I mean, we could start with 2 years, but probably the last 15 years. There's zero consequences for people like the Sackler family that just ruin people with opiates, and zero consequences for them. They get to walk around free, but some guy on the corner that's slanging some dope, that guy's gonna go to prison. Get out of here with that. But I think this transformation, or this reconfiguring of integrity and having the ability to stand up for what's right starts with individuals, because it's not going to come from the top. It's going to come from each one of us looking around and being, I'm sick and tired of seeing my brother and sister stepped on. I'm going to stand up right here. Damn the consequence. Go ahead, fire me. What are you going to do? Nothing. Before you fire me, let me go ahead and tell you what a dummy you are. Let me tell you why you are a horrible person. Let me tell you the difference between a leader and a manager. I'm going to do it in front of these 500 people right here, just so that they can know and clap and have a little bit of empowerment that builds up inside of them. But it's contagious, right? That ability to stand up for what's right is what we're here to do. We should be doing more of it.
I so agree with you. Listen, go to a wedding. Everybody wants to dance, but it takes that one person to open the dance floor. And then everybody's boogieing.
That's
Thank
right.
God Frankie opened the dance floor.
Yep.
Everybody's looking for that one person who will stick their neck out. If
Yep.
everybody realized and came together and said, we all need to do this, no one person's putting their neck out. But if it takes an act of civil disobedience to say, no, this is not okay. they polled some college girls that were protesting the right to have an abortion, and it was like, we need to have autonomy over our bodies. It's not okay. And the guy,
Right.
he says, and so, microphone in their face, what do you think about them telling you need to have a jab? Uh, yeah. Is that not the
Mm-hmm.
same thing?
Little pot. This
Uh,
is the kettle. You're black.
That's it. That's it. So
Yeah.
dumbass is really, look, it was a response to dumbass, my dumbass podcast, my dumbass. The reason is because I've been that dumbass. I have accepted things. I've lowered the bar. I know what it is. I'm not being judgmental. I promise you. We've all had traffic when and somebody cuts you off, you're like, dumbass. We've
Yeah.
all said
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
word. It's,
Yeah.
we need to have judgment. We have to have judgment, good judgment skills.
Right.
That is different from being judgmental.
Yeah.
Being judgmental is putting one up and another one down. This is
Right.
using good judgment skills. We've got to have it. This whole new age movement is just like, just don't judge. Just don't. Everything's fine. It's fine. I said, you know what? That's how we got here, because it's not fine. You know, these
Yeah.
controllers and psychopaths on parade love that you want to sit down, be passive, sit at home and say om. They love that because you're not doing anything to be a stand-up guy. You
Yeah.
know, and so it came from falling into rabbit holes, which I know you
Sure.
love to talk about.
I love them. I love
I
them.
know, right? And it was like, okay, on the global stage, it's a mess. We got
Mhm.
clowns on parade. But what, think global, act local. What can we
Yeah.
do local? What can you do in your life today to
Mhm.
minimize the simple clanging monkeys on your own dang porch?
I
So
love it.
that you can hear your still small voice. Believe it or not, buried in this book is a very spiritual message. And it's hidden in the entertainment, and you know what, I think most people stop reading when it causes them to look in the mirror and go, holy shit, I've been a dumbass too. I have.
Totally.
Yeah,
We all
I
have.
tell you, yeah, we have. And being a repeat offender. Oh, I'm gonna just give Trump another hall pass. I'm
Right.
gonna give
Right.
this guy another hall pass. You know, it's okay. No, it's not. Stop being a repeat offender.
Yeah.
Allowing that guy or girlfriend that, you know, a pal of yours. I had one. I had to quit him after 6 years. I said, stop calling me with the same freaking problem. You like trailer trash girls. I'm okay with that. No judgment, but you see what it gets you. And then
Right.
you say, oh, those are good ideas, Lonnie. And you do it for a month and then you go back to what you know. I said, I'm done with this. Because he's a repeat offender. Me
Right.
staying with him makes me a repeat offender.
Sure.
So I'm just a dumbass. You cannot expect somebody to change their ways. If it's a pattern for life. That's their life pattern. Do you want more of this or less of this? Survey says, no, thank you. Next, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I'm pretty passionate about it. I just don't understand why it's like people have blinders on, George. And you know, and I was raised in chaos. I accepted a lot of
Right.
abuse.
Right.
So you can understand that.
Yeah, I
And so
can.
that's normal to us. A calm, peaceful relationship is like, something's wrong here. I need to, I don't know, kick something. I need to, you
Yeah.
know, stir it up because that's familiar. Well,
Yeah.
let's not have that be familiar. Let's bring the peace into our own selves and say, you know what, I deserve better.
Yeah.
I think we all do. And the process of getting there of, no, you're not a schmuck. I don't care what people said to you, means that you'll expect better and you'll kick those other things to the curb that want to sling mud at you and say, it's okay. In fact, it's your fault. I did that. That's got to go. We've got to, you know, as if people realized, I read something so interesting, George. A man did an analysis. I wish I could do it justice, but I'll spare you. The analysis was on DNA, and he was. I could see it. He's one of those. It's not David Wilcox, but it's one of those guys. Might be David Wilcox, super into neuroscience and DNA. He was able to assign words or letters to the code of DNA. And every single one of them started with God and then something else. God created essentially it was, a creation of God. Now, I believe there are entities here that are soulless. I believe there's clones. I believe there's all kinds of. I wait till I tell you about the shapeshifter I met.
Nice.
There are. I will hold on a second. There are definitely some soulless beings here. However, the point is, you can't be separate from the thing that created you. That's an illusion. Separation consciousness is I think the reason that we have all these wars. We have all this, self-loathing. We have people filled with gutter level self-esteem. I was there. I had the shit kicked out of me emotionally. And it took a long time to recover and rewrite. And hey guys, good news is you can do it. Good news is you can rewrite the next chapter. You can. And we're plastic,
Yeah.
neuroplasticity. We can do it. But you have to want to. And not accept that this is just, oh, it's just my ticket in life. No. No. Don't accept that. Don't accept anything less than excellence. You come from a source of all things that makes flowers bloom and your heart beat. You can't figure that out. How does your finger heal from a cut?
Right.
Right? Profound healing happens. It just happens. And imagine if we just lean on the truth of who we are. Remember who you are. And stop letting people tell you you're anything less. Get rid of them. And it might be that you're by yourself for a little while, but that's okay. It's better than having to deal with a bunch of drama and chaos. Because you can't be effective if you're dealing with that. You got to go through it to get over it and get some help to do it. And tapping is one of those ways to do that. It's phenomenal. So,
Yeah. The best way out is always through. And it's hard work to do, but what are you going to run from it your whole life? At some point in time, like I was thinking about this yesterday when I was driving. It's fun. Sometimes people like to be scared. Like if you go to a movie, you're like, ah,
I don't get that.
Like, yeah, but what if like at some point in time, imagine seeing that same scene over and over again. The first time you're like, ah, and then you're like, ah, and then you're like, ah. Okay, what is this scary? It's not even that scary. It's not even fake. It's a fake monster. This person's dumb. Why am I scared at this? Like, if you look at it, the scary thing enough, it becomes dumb. And then at that point in time, like you have to change it. Like, okay, I don't want to watch this scary scene anymore. And I think life is constantly doing that to us. Yeah, okay, but as soon as you get triggered or as soon as you feel like you're scared of something or something triggers you, makes you mad, stop and embrace it. Because standing up to the thing that scares you is enough to scare that thing away. And it leans on you. And I think that, like you said, our first impulse is to run. Our first impulse is to do something, but behind the impulse to run is the impulse to fight. It's the fight or flight feeling. And sometimes you got to embrace that fight in there, I think. But it's beautiful said.
Please embrace it. Because if we're not stand-up guys, we'll be pushed over. Yeah. Do the math. If you're not a stand-up guy, you'll fall for anything. And this really is about, hey, you got a spine. You can bend over and stand up and sit down and twist. Now stand up and say something.
Yeah.
We have to. If we're going to make it, there are many out there. It's just like, oh, it's all perfect. It's happening the way it should. I'm like, no, actually, it's happening the way these creeps on parade want it to.
Yeah.
If they sat at home and said, oh, I'm just going to visualize screwing up everybody's life and taking over the world because it's going to happen just because my vibration is super low or whatever, we would laugh at them, right? That's a joke. Yeah. Come on. They're putting stuff in place. They're doing everything. And we're just standing by going, oh, I guess that's fine. No, man, it's not okay to destroy a garden in order to build a new garden. It's not. We have a garden. Leave it the hell alone.
Yeah.
Like, how bad does it have to get? It's going to get as bad as we'll let it. I'm not saying I'm out there carrying signs. I don't know what to do about some of the stuff I see. Yeah. I don't even know. I don't. But I do know that what you said is true. If we turn on the light, the cockroaches scurry.
That's right. That's right.
Bye
Transparency.
bye, bug.
Yep. Yep. Coming to find you. It's
Well, I got a
I
story for you.
yeah, please tell me.
Okay, on. Okay.
Okay.
All right. I was going on a trip, and I was over at Anna's house, and Anna, 22, she rivaled Ivanka Trump for beautiful.
Nice.
Beautiful long blonde hair. I mean, she was a stunner. And I forget how I knew her, probably work. And I had my little bird cage over on the over to my right, and I'm talking to her on my left, and back and forth and back and forth, and I'm doing something in the bird cage to show her at whatever. I turn back. Anna has transformed into the most haggard, horrible, hunched over witch of a thing that I can't even freaking. I couldn't tell an
What?
artist how to make her ugly enough.
What?
I am not kidding. Aged, wretched, oh, just gnarly, The worst. You can't even picture it. You can't. Imagine, right? The look on my face.
Yeah.
And I had to look away because I was like, what the hell is that? And I took a breath and I looked away and I looked back because I was ready to run. And it was Anna, 22-year-old, beautiful blonde Anna. And she goes, what? What's wrong? And I said,
I saw who you really are.
I just saw this horrible, haggard, aged thing hunched over the table. And now it's not there.
Did you say that to her?
On? And she screamed at me, get out of my house. And I was like, no problem. I'm taking the bird too, because you'll probably eat it.
Right.
Just like,
what?
Gone. Yeah. I'm telling you, I've seen them. And I've seen faces shape. I've seen faces morph multiple times. Psychics look at me and they go, you can see faces change. And I said, yeah, it really sucks because I don't want to see this, but I do.
What is that? Is that like you think that is seeing someone for who they really are? Or is that like a different being? Or is that something we can't understand? Like, how do you make sense of that?
I don't know how to make sense of it.
Yeah.
I genuinely don't. I wonder about the ones, there's a lot of photos of pupils that are turning into the slits like reptiles, right?
Yeah.
You've seen that. And I wonder, maybe they're hybrids. I had a friend who was abducted multiple times, by the way. And he later was introduced to his test tube son. Yeah. Multiple abductions for this guy. Poor thing. But there's these other people, and I wonder, like, do you actually recognize that you're going into reptile mode right now? Because we got your we got your pupils on film, and you ain't looking right. Are you aware of that? I don't know if they know. I've stopped wondering. I've stopped caring. Not too long ago, let me tell you something. If you get a funny feeling about something, trust it. I was walking. Age before beauty should apply, right? In this case, both should have applied. This guy was walking up to the doors of the grocery store at the exact same time I was, and I got the willies. Hair stood on the back of my neck. Okay, I said, something's wrong here. I can feel it. Something's wrong. Something's off. Yeah. This guy, by the time he went first, because I didn't want him behind me. I didn't want his energy behind me. By the time I got through the front door to grab a grocery cart, not far, okay, right there, he was all the way to the back of the store. It was like he was moving on wheels.
Right.
It was weird. And I was like, how the hell did he move that fast? But right before that happened, I stood behind him. I got ballsy for a second, and I said, I know who you are. I see you. Freaking freak. And I was like, oh, you better shut the hell up.
Yeah.
Because if he is that freak, whatever that level is,
right,
it could be a problem. But I'm a stand-up guy these days. I don't care. Fuck. Anyway, but look, dude, I watched this squirrely looking, elongated neck, weird face guy. He was
right.
soared to the back of the store. He stood at the meat counter or whatever, the section, right?
Right.
Meats in it, right? He
Right.
literally bends like a robot, looks down, looks left, looks right, stands up, goes like this, and continues through the store doing this weird, like, bend over, check it out, and then scoots to another aisle. I swear to God, you can't make this up. This is in South Knoxville. Now, look, it's not the best reputation for town, but damn, man, what the hell is that? What is that? And then he scooted out the door without buying anything. Oh, cue shock face.
Mm,
Like, good, get out. Wherever you
yeah.
came from, go back
Yeah.
under that rock, please. Because, yeah, yeah. I have sat next to people and watched their faces, just multiple faces. They just, I've had communication in my ear, George, and
Mm,
it sounded like it was telepathy, but it was like, I'm like,
right.
I turned to the guy and I go, I cannot understand a word you're saying. Shut the hell up. And I got up and I walked away.
Yeah.
It's like, enough. I'm done with this. Hit the road, Jack.
Right.
So this stuff is real. And people want to doubt it. Go ahead, doubt it. Go ahead. There's just far too much evidence. If you're making an assumption that the person you're listening to right now is nuts, it's because you don't know enough yet to call them nuts. And you might be crazy for not investigating further. I'm just saying we have got to dig deeper than what lamestream media wants to force feed you in the propaganda box or out of the propaganda box. It's
Yeah.
enough.
I agree. The idea that we have any idea what's really happening, like here's like a quick linear path people can look at if you want to understand that everything you've been taught is bullshit.
Right? There's
The
that.
planets, yeah, the planets do not live in glass spheres. We are not the center of the universe. And if there's one thing we always get right, it's that we always get it wrong. Like my history is definitely different than my wife's history, who was born in Laos. History, just the word his story, like that is bullshit. History is made up. History is a set of lies agreed on by people that have the power to kill other people. That is history. We don't know anything. We think we know things, but we don't know anything. Find a top scientist and ask them, hey, what are you studying right now? And is it true? And a really intelligent scientist will be, this is our best guess. And they'll
They
tell
don't
you,
know
this is
shit.
what we think. They don't, but we believe it like it's gospel. We believe like, this is what authority says, therefore it's true. And that's the foundation of our problems, is that we believe these quote unquote experts. Experts don't know shit. Experts are expert bullshitters. It's an opinion. People will give you their expert opinion. You should take it as so. If they study that field and they're really, really talented and they're good, please take their opinion, but understand it's their opinion and you should do your own research and come up with your own opinion to see if they match.
And
Right?
also look at who funded their studies, because
Thank you.
chances are the outcome is based on that supporter, that
Yeah.
that patron.
Yes.
Listen, you've got to follow the money.
Right.
And remember that it's the victors who write the texts.
Yeah.
So they've been manipulated in favor of whoever wants to control you
Yeah.
next.
Yeah.
Come on, guys. Follow the science. Really? Did you ever look at the science on the masks, George? Have you seen how many big things and small things can pass through those freaking masks? What a joke. But the local Goodwill, I dubbed her the mask Nazi. And she was adamant about, put it
Yeah.
on, get out. And I was just
Yeah.
like, God, your mask is too tight. The oxygen level is hurting you, lady. It
Yeah.
is, like, come on, trust the science. My ass, if you did, you wouldn't put that on
Yeah.
because it's making you sick. Like,
The good
hello.
I think the response to people that say trust the science should be like, that's company science. You kind of like throw it back at them like, no, that's company science. That's the same one that tells you smoking is good for you. This is company science. It's bought and paid for by the people that are making money. So I do trust science on some level, but I don't trust company science because that is just propaganda.
Listen, let's just do some math on
Yeah, let's do it.
some bigger things. Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I love this. Okay. So the stars are sort of still in the same place all the time around the course of a year.
Mhm.
If we were hurtling through space at how many thousand miles per hour? 666,166 miles around the sun every day. Stars wouldn't be where they are. We would be somewhere else entirely. We are not hurtling through space. It's just, that's just right there. Just start right there with that lie we've been told
Right.
that this is, the earth rotates this way. Really? How are you going to explain the two suns that people are videotaping now in the sky? There's two suns. And they're in different places. Sometimes they're together. And I mean, come on. There's so much going on, but people, I don't want to know. I can't handle it. I didn't know I was supposed to know. But why would you tell me that? It doesn't affect my life. I'm like, it does in this way. You've been lied to. And they're going to continue to lie to you until you wake up and realize that you can call bullshit and take your power back.
Yeah.
That's actually what this book is about, is take back authority over your life. Gosh.
Yeah.
We've been imbued with so much and been so dumbed down. It's interesting you brought up your wife being from Laos. I wonder what version of story they got. The U.S. has just been duped so badly, so much. And I have compassion for it to a certain extent. But then after that, it's like, wake up. Don't be part of the problem. Be part of the solution.
Yeah.
And that means being empowered. Isn't there I believe there's a phrase in a famous book that says, my people shall perish from lack of knowledge. I don't read that book because I know who wrote it. And I know there's 155 chapters missing. And we could go into that, but we won't. However, if you want to pick and choose some phrases, it's true.
Yeah.
People will die in the dark. And they don't even see what's coming. And I feel for them, but you know what? If they don't start to question it, they're going to fall for it. And ever since I was little, I was always like, but why? But
why? Beautiful question.
I think that I have to say there might have been a moment where I wasn't that way. Here's how parents can really mess up a kid. I was standing there with my father, who I was fairly new acquainted with. I didn't know about him. I thought my stepdad was my dad. And my little brother, a year younger, not the twins, the other one, he goes, Dad, how come it is that we see the airplane, then we hear the sound? My dad puffs up because you'll see the chapter in here. My dad knows everything. Just ask him. Yeah, that guy. And he puffs up and he goes, well, son, there's the visual and light speed. And he explains why you can see versus hear the plane. And then that wasn't enough. He turns to me and goes, why don't you ever ask good questions?
Oh.
I was like, I'm 8. Why did you just kick me in the gut?
Yeah.
I'm trying so fucking hard. You're going to do that? Is it any wonder I'm starting my 10th podcast? I ask a lot of questions. I can't help but interview the shit out of people. Come on.
Yeah.
No, it's really, honest to God, wasn't in response to that. But the reason I brought that story up is because people need to start asking questions. It's not a bad thing. And it does threaten people who are holding through threads, maybe together, lies. It's all spun in this tenuous, tentative reality that don't ask. It's gonna, how dare you ask? How dare you question me?
Yeah.
Who do you think you are? That's what narcissists will do.
Yeah.
Who do you think you are? Oh, I'm just stupid. Then they pull in this whole, I'm just stupid. It's like, no, I just asked you to own up to this part. And could it work differently? No, it can't because you said so. Okay. No, we're going to have to be strong when it comes to standing up for ourselves. And
really, I think we should get comfortable with uncertainty. I think that's something that is what authority tries to replace with. Like people, hey, who knows where your next paycheck comes from? Who knows if you're going to die tomorrow? Who knows if you're going to get cancer? But people definitely do not want to embrace uncertainty. And so when you give up uncertainty, you get authority. Okay, do this and you'll be fine. Okay, listen to me and you'll be fine. But some people, I don't know. I think we have to embrace uncertainty. What do you think?
That is such an excellent point. My God, I'm glad you brought that up. Yes. I am. It is so true. listen, it's as much of a risk. What is the stats on driving a car and being in a car accident?
Right.
It's within 2 miles of your home, right?
Right.
Right? It's more dangerous to drive to the grocery store than across country. Okay, according to the statistics.
Right.
So there's risk inherent in everything we do in life.
Hmm.
Shit happens. It can.
Yep.
Listen to your still
Yeah.
small voice. If it says go right, freaking go right. Trust it. Don't
Yeah.
ask why. Just go.
Just do it.
But there is absolutely uncertainty in everything. Just
Yeah.
because it's a pattern or a routine doesn't mean it's more certain. So we got to get our heads around that. There's nobody. This savior complex stuff doesn't. Oh, right. Another topic.
Totally.
It's a false sense of certainty.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing I want to say. When I had a lot happen by the time I was 12. And one of those things was I I was in we thought it would be fun to ride the waves. There was a hurricane out over Cuba, and so South Florida was getting waves over the pier. And
Mm.
we rode our bikes, me and my brother. We were gonna go body surfing, or we took our rafts. We didn't know it would be that big of a wave, right? We didn't know
Right.
the waves were that huge. Beach is closed. No worries. We're on bikes. We're kids. We don't care.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, George, this little lifeguard we knew, was there
Sounds like a
that
good
day.
guy.
Yeah, he was a good guy. George, we were there a lot. And he took us out past where the waves were breaking. And it really wasn't that fun. I was getting kind of seasick riding
Mhm.
these swells way past the pier. And I was like, well, we were going to ride the waves in. I said, I'm going to go in. And so I start going in, and there's a place at which the waves crest and there's an undertow.
Mhm.
And these waves are pounding down into the sand. And those weren't waves you could ride yet. It was too rough. What happened for me was I got taken out by one of those waves, and my raft was caught around my ankle.
Mm.
And I tried to stand up, and then another one came, and I got knocked sideways, and I couldn't tell what was going on. And then another one came, and I was face in the sand, and I couldn't figure out one end from the other. I was done. I could tell I was done. And there's a little bit of panic, and I'm sharing this story for a reason, guys. It's important.
Yeah.
So I knew I was drowning or something like that. And that's all I could say at the time. I didn't. Here's why. In that moment, it was totally dark. I'm like, okay, according to let's see, the Jewish temple, the Christian Bible school, the Baptist church I went to, like I was confused religiously. Okay.
Yeah.
They just don't jump here, go to this for the summer. Bye, kid. We were just shipped off to whatever was convenient. But their bottom line was there's your little life will flash before your eyes. There'll be a tunnel and some light. You're supposed to go to the light. Oh, okay. So I'm looking for all that, right? I'm like, literally, I can feel something's happening. I pulled out of my body, and there was no fear, no pain, no worries. There was nothing. It was peaceful.
Mm.
I still remember it. It was like the biggest sense of peace that I have known. And I'm like, in my mind's eye, I'm kind of looking around like, where am I supposed to go now? What's happening now? And I wasn't sure if I was manufacturing it. Like, is there a light I'm supposed to be going to or something? I've since learned, don't do that, because that's, it's not reincarnation, it's reincarceration. And it's a soul trap to come
Mm.
back. Just decide to exit the matrix. That's another topic. But anyway, yeah, here's what happened. I had this experience, and it was total bliss. It's easier to die than it is to live. It was so peaceful. And I
Mm.
want people to know that none of us is going to get out of here alive. Why not live out loud? Like, seriously, go for it. Because if it's not your time, it won't be your time. Just like go, just do. If it
Mm.
calls to you, it is for you. What you want wants you even more than you want it.
That's so
Right?
true. I love it.
Just saying, right?
Yeah.
There's a reason. So, so what happened, the reason I'm here to tell you this is so crazy. Mind you, beach is closed. Nobody's there except me and my brother. and George. They can't see what's going on. The waves are so big, they have no idea what's happening. I could have just, floated away.
Yeah.
But no, a stranger pulled me up from these incredible waves and sat me down on the shore, looked me in the face and said, "You okay?" And I said, "I think so. I think so." Okay. And I watched him walk down the beach and disappear. And I sat out there and I looked at the waves. Yeah, I've had some crazy shit happen. I looked at the waves and I was like, "Oh, that's when I got scared. Oh, I almost just died. Oh, I almost just drowned."
Yeah.
I should have needed resuscitation, all things
Mhm.
considered, to have had that out of body experience.
Right.
But I wanted people to know that when we lose somebody, when they cross over, they're in a better place. They are, because it
Right.
is peaceful. You don't have the recollection of all the stuff you went through. There's a disconnect that happens.
Right.
And it's cool. It's like, good for you. You got the ticket out. Good on you.
Right. Right.
So why don't we just, take a step off the curb, like crossing there's a little 5-lane highway out here. It's not like, I-95. It's 5 lanes though.
Right.
But if you step off the curb to cross the highway, we've all done this
Yeah.
at the right time. I mean, make sure the traffic's not right clear on your side. All you can account for is what's coming your way. You step across, you might have to pause in the center lane because the traffic going the other direction is still going. But you know what happens? How often, right? The traffic slows down, people wave you through, or
Yeah.
there's a break in the traffic. But none of that would have happened if you didn't step off the curb back
Right.
there.
Right.
Nobody on this side knows with you standing on the curb that you're going to need to cross 5 lanes. They're not going
Yeah.
to stop for you. And that's the magic of moving forward. When we move forward, the doors can open, but only until we're about ready to put our hand on the handle.
Yeah. Yep.
And then it happens. So
Yeah.
just go for it. Live out loud. Take a chance. Do civil disobedience.
Yeah.
I have a great episode. It's the most popular one on how to deal with a dumbass, a spiritual perspective. And it is with John Lukacs, medical researcher who came up with all kinds of solutions to what, and has very good success with that. Anyway, we had the best time, and he did 45 minutes the first time and 30 the next, because he's full of it. He's full of ideas on civil disobedience, and he's just talking about pulling down signs and going, "Hell no, I'm
Right.
not doing it. I'm
Right.
not." And the people, the optometrists, they're all like, in skin suits and masked up, and it's like, wait a minute. You have to have this, you have to have that to get your eyes examined. He goes, "Fuck you. I just want to get my contact lens replaced." He's pulling signs down as he's walking out. He goes, "This is stupid. Stop it."
Yeah. Yeah.
That matters. If everybody
does
did
matter.
that, my God, it'd be fun.
Right. Yeah, you can only be ruled if you obey the rules, right? And there's so many people. It's kind of amazing to think.
Wait, say that again.
The only reason there's rules is because we obey them. Like, we make the rules. We make the rules, not the people in authority. They can tell us to do things, but we choose whether to do them or not. And it just takes a few people to be like, "Nah, I'm not doing that. I'm not gonna do it." I remember when COVID first came out, like, I was at the park with my daughter, and like, I don't really watch a whole lot of TV, so I'm at the park playing. I'm like, "This is epic. There's nobody down here." And this cop pulls
Why
up.
is it so clear?
Yeah, I'm like, "This is amazing, dude. Yes, play. We're doing stuff." And this cop pulls up and he gets out of his car. I'm like, "Hey, man, you can't be here." I'm like, "Why not?" He's like, "Because there's a pandemic." I'm like, "You're kidding me? Pandemic? Really? I don't see anybody dying. Like, I didn't even know about it. Like, they had just closed it for the first day." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And he looks at me. He's like, "I don't know, man. They just told me you guys can't be here." But he totally switched over. And he's like, and I'm like, "Seriously?" I'm like, "Well, what are you going to do if I stay here?" And he's like, "Dude, I got to write you a ticket, man." "You write me a ticket?"
Just
And he's
following
like,
orders.
yeah. Like, and that's another thing people should think about.
That makes my
just
face go
following
sideways.
orders. You're just following orders.
Ah,
Stop
really?
it. Stop following orders. Think about it for a minute. Is that something you really need to do? Everyone should read Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning. And then you should never follow orders again unless you think that those orders are something that are worth following. It's this blind faith, this blind allegiance to a power structure that you have no idea has your best idea in mind. Here's another one too that really pisses me off, Lonnie, is the greater good. Who decides what the greater good is? Who gets to decide that? For greater good for who? Doesn't that one really gets me?
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. And if we follow the money, we know who the greater good is, and it
Yeah.
doesn't include you and me.
You're not part of the greater good. Me and you.
No. And I'm like, you idiots, if you steal and kill all the peasants, who are you going to rob next?
Right.
Morons. Come
Yep.
on. I mean, seriously, like, have you thought this through?
No, I
Jesus.
haven't.
Greater good. Yeah. Do harm to none. Yeah. All those guys in white coats posing as, authoritarian figures are idiots. Not
Right.
all of them, but a lot of them. And to do harm to none means do no harm to big harma. Okay. Big harm.
Yeah, big Harma. That's so funny, Lonnie. Let's talk.
No,
Let's talk
don't end
briefly
the
about
show.
I gotta go to the dentist right now, and I could get drilled on my tooth. I gotta. I know.
I
I
have
know.
put it off, George.
Oh, you gotta go do it. You
Dude,
gotta
that's
get it
why I
done.
didn't get
Toothaches are the worst. Oh,
surgery.
your wrist is broken.
That's why I didn't do it. I've had more friends go into the hospital and come out with something else. My friend, this was outpatient. That was what they said. My friend went in for esophagus surgery. He was
Oh.
also pure. 2 weeks later, he died of a heart attack.
Mm.
Do the math, because they make sure that you have. Did you do this? Are you going to do this? What about the booster? How many did you do? Yeah. You know what? They've shown that there's graphene oxide in the anesthetic for dental.
Mm.
Yeah, we need a list of dissident dentists.
That's a good point.
I promise they've got to be out there,
Yeah.
because I saw them centrifuge spin that anesthetic, and I know it's important, bro. Listen, it's embarrassing. I got Tennessee haggletooth. I'm embarrassed. I usually have this gigantic smile, and I'm just like, oh, I have this part, and it's because they've made it dangerous to go to a regular dentist. He
Mm.
spun the anesthetic, took a magnet to the test tube, and literally combed the test tube. And at the bottom was an accumulation of black stuff that is graphene oxide, and that is very toxic.
Mm.
That's what's buried in these shots.
Well, thanks for that. Now I'm gonna.
I know. We've got look through awareness and
Right.
acceptance. Like, oh,
Education.
okay, it's like that, huh? Awareness,
Yeah.
acceptance, and action equals change.
I
So
like it.
I have it on my board, the same board that I used to manifest a lottery winning a couple years ago. I wrote the numbers and I focused on it, and I swear to God, I even knew the day. I wish it would happen again. But anyway, dissident dentists. They've got to be out there, because there were OBGYNs saying, do not come to my office if you got that thing, because you're going to cause my other patients to have a miscarriage. Get out.
That's crazy.
That happened.
Yeah,
Well,
the shedding, right?
yeah, I had a guy. Long and short of it is, I had nobody come over here. It ended up happening that seriously, some things seem to be divine, and it was not a good divine. Okay, some things just seem to be fated.
Right.
Even before I went out that afternoon, George, I was like, my intuition said, clean up the house a little bit. And I was like, why? Nobody comes here, and I did it anyway. And I ended up having somebody visit. We were supposed to have a glass of wine at the bar. The bar closed early. It was Sunday night. And we ended up here. And I said, you sit down there. I'll sit at this end. The movie's in the middle. Here we go.
Yeah.
And it was the best I could do. And I stood here before I sat down, and my intuition said, and I sat down anyway. And what happened is he turned into a total octopus. And he had his hands down my sweater. He was and I haven't had a steady for a long time. It's like, oh, it's nice to be touched.
Yeah.
He was, massaging here and this and that. And, guess what happened? I was sick for a week. After that, I broke out in 4 kinds of hives. My face was so swollen that my mouth was turned down on like this. You could see fingerprints wherever he touched me. There were handprints on the backs of my shoulder blades where he touched me through my jeans. The welts came
Whoa.
through my jeans and transferred over to the other leg. I did not know if it was ever going to go away. It was anywhere he touched me, there were tracks up around my ear, down my neck, wherever he touched me, blew out. I mean, shedding? What the hell was that?
Wow.
He was an American who just come from a Morocco music festival, so chances are he got some kind of fresh cocktail coming out of his skin, right? It was that
something. That's dirty. That's dirty. Dirty. You got to come back, Lonnie. You got to come back and talk about Rattled Awake.
Okay.
We haven't even touched on that yet. Like, this is the new series that gets into the culmination of everything we've been talking about, translated into a sort of education and entertainment that has become a series that is helping people see the world in a different way.
Yeah, so, perspectives that change for the better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Maybe you can give a where can people find you if they want to understand more about some of the previous books that you read, if they want to buy some of the previous books, if they want to understand what you're doing for people right now and how they can get involved, and how to contact you as someone who is a story editor and be involved in some of your projects. Maybe you can give a shout out to where people can find you.
I thank you. The books are available on Amazon. It's, under my name, Lonnie Rey. I have an author page. Rattled Awake is just one chapter, one weekend, and I help people get their stuff done. And you can find me on LinkedIn for that. And it is a phenomenal opportunity to have expertise to help you get your story told and sold in a professionally published and promoted book. So that's it. It's a quick nutshell.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, check it out for sure. We're going to have Lonnie back hopefully next week if you get some time, and we'll talk all about Rattled Awake and that process. I'm sure we'll birdwalk into some other stuff too, because it's really fun, and I enjoy talking to it, and I really love the way your spirit, I love the stories, and it's really fun. I really enjoy the conversation. And so, ladies and gentlemen, that's all we got for today. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Check out Lonnie Rey. Go check out Rattled Awake. Check out her other books. Buy them. You'll definitely have fun reading them. You'll be inspired and you'll learn. So that's what we got for today. Ladies and gentlemen, hang on one, Lonnie. I'm going to talk to you still, but that's all for the ladies and gentlemen today. Aloha.